So guys, this is the last video of the year compilation, my top 6 aquascapes of 2024. While we're here, thank you to each and everyone for commenting, for watching my videos, for smashing that like button, and if you haven't done so yet, click on the subscribe button below, it really helps a lot. Also, huge shout out to the channel sponsors. Without them, many things simply wouldn't be possible. Quick forecast for 2025. This space kept me busy for the past 3-4 months, I think so. It's almost finished. I cannot wait to have it up and running. So a lot of things are going to happen here. Obviously, a full tour. I'm also going to do in-person events in this studio. So it's going to be really cool. I'm very excited for everything to come in 2025. And for this compilation, there are going to be some bonus materials which you haven't seen previously, and there is one video in particular you haven't seen on this channel yet. Guys, enjoy the videos, do me a favor, let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite, and if you have any wishes for 2025, things you would like to see on this channel, also let me know down in the comments below. Have a good one, stay healthy, stay happy, keep the algae out of your tanks. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Hey, and what is up guys? My name is Jurijs, and in today's video I'm gonna show you how I built this 3-meter long riverbed aquarium behind me. Let's get started. We started by taking down the lights so we have enough space for working. Next, the aquarium was flipped with the backside up in order to attach a frost film. A frost film is going to hide anything behind the aquarium and allow to attach RGB backlight at a later point. To attach the frost film, you always want to clean the surface first and fully soak it with either glass cleaner or the soapy water afterwards, as this will make pushing out red bubbles a breeze. The bigger the aquarium, the more likely you're gonna need helping hand to remove the protection layer from the frost film. As you can see, we struggled quite a little bit, but finally got it sorted. Thanks to the soaked backside, you can now move the frost film around and try to match two sides perfectly parallel so you have less cutting work to do. Once the frost film is aligned, use a plastic card to scrape out trapped air and liquid bubbles. Start from the inside and work your way to the outside. This way you make sure no bubbles are left, and it's worth checking twice as it will be difficult to fix afterwards. Next, use a razor blade to cut away excess film. Start at a corner and cut along the edge of the glass at an approximately 45-degree angle. Pro tip: if you have enough time, allow the frost film to dry first for 24 hours before cutting the excess. This will make the process a lot easier. After the frost film was attached, we flipped back the aquarium and brought back the lighting. By the way, the Twinster LEDs were suspended with Liti Aquaria Universal Mounting System, which is super affordable and allows suspending all kinds of different LEDs. To learn more about the system, check out the link in the description. Before starting the build process, I checked out the hardscape, which has been collected by the owner. The rocks are some kind of basalt boulders he picked from a local landscaping supply store. I think they look fantastic and will perfectly suit the composition I have in mind. I decided to start with a layer of Tropica soil to build height before adding the first stones. With the moderate substrate slopes in place, I started adding the rocks. Largest rocks on the outside first, slowly transitioning towards the center with smaller rocks. Once the main stones were in place, I added more soil to build up the slopes really high. That will create sense of a cross-section and allow plants to grow out of water. Now comes the most important tool for aquascapers: the paintbrush. You won't believe it how much you need it until somebody takes it away from you. Trust me. I like to use a paintbrush to smooth out soil and cosmetic sand between the hardscape. This is probably the most zen-like part when building an aquascape. Next, I arranged the stones in the central area of the composition. It was the most difficult part, as this is where the slopes fade out and connect. It is important to allow for enough negative space and enough complexity at the same time to make the composition look interesting. Once all large stones were in place, I added some medium-sized pebbles to add more detail to the hardscape. Just in case, I brought some ancient juniper wood with me and the owner asked me to try it out. He really liked the outcome, so the wood remained inside the composition. To keep the wood secured and prevent it from floating, I glued the wood in place with the liquid superglue and cotton pads technique. Thanks to the characteristics of cyanoacrylate-based superglue, it is safe for both fish and shrimps. To complete the hardscape and cap the soil, which is going to reduce the mixing with cosmetic sand, I added a layer of fine gravels. Bio Heaven sand is distributed evenly in the center of the aquarium. A paintbrush is used again to move sand around and create an even layer. Finally, Bio Cimarron gravel is sprinkled strategically in selected locations around the large pebbles to create a nice blend towards the cosmetic sand. With the hardscape complete, it is time to take a step back and enjoy the results of our work. Pay attention to the sense of flow created by strategic use of round pebbles, driftwood and various types of gravel and cosmetic sand. At this point, it already looks like a dried out riverbed and the owner is very happy with the progress. Now let's get back to work. A planting map is created by placing plant cups and labels inside the aquarium. This helps envision the mature state of the layout as well as budget with the amount of plants. I begin planting from the outside, simply taking one cup at a time and transferring the plants into the soil. Plants that will grow out of water are Pogostemon deccanensis, previously known as Pogostemon erectus, Lobelia cardinalis mini, and Bacopa caroliniana. Majority of the in-between space is planted with Eleocharis pusilla, as this carpeting plant doesn't need frequent trimmings and will allow a simpler maintenance routine. To speed up the planting process, the owner has joined me and started planting from the other half of the aquarium. Finally, Physidens moss was applied using the moss mud method. The moss mud what, you may ask? Let me explain. For sure you've heard about dry start. So, this is your way to dry start with moss. All you need is a teaspoon of soil, your moss and enough water to keep the mix fluid. Add all ingredients into a mixer and blend until you get a smooth consistency. Don't be afraid if your moss snippets are shredded tiny. It will regrow from the tiniest fragments. Just don't tell your significant other, as it can cause unpredictable consequences. The moss mud mix is then applied with a paintbrush on selected rock surfaces as well as the inner segments of the driftwood. The trick is not to use too much of it. In case you cannot help yourself and go crazy painting all over the place, don't worry. You can later use a toothbrush to undo your paintings. Finally, the aquarium is sprayed wet and is covered with cling film to allow the moss to attach itself to the hardscape before it is flooded. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. It was a fantastic day I spent here with my friend, scaping this aquarium for him, making his dream come true. And we need your help. Please let us know which fish we should add into this aquarium. Obviously, all the river loaches, I don't know, stream-like fish can go inside, and I'm gonna see you in the next video. Okay guys, for today's scape I have a UNS 3N aquarium prepared, the hardscape, the plants, a little bit of soil and all kind of tools. Without any further ado, let's get started. So the UNS 3N is a lovely small aquarium, and what I really like about UNS aquariums, each and every one comes with a custom rubber mat.
So, and it fits perfectly, so you don't have to cut it to size. It's already here, sitting super nice and snug. What I really like about the Jurijs aquariums is the 45-degree, middle corners. It's just beautiful, especially if you look, like over the corner, the silicone seal appears almost invisible. My inspiration for this aquascape originates from a layout I did a couple years ago, probably one of my most prominent, famous, popular scapes ever, the UNS 5N Iwagumi dry start, and I had this idea to replicate one of my own scapes. Like, I have seen you guys replicating this layout a lot, so what I did, I went to a garden center and I shopped hardscape there, just to eliminate this hurdle of, maybe Jurijs is having the magic hardscape. So I went there, ordinary store, and I bought this red pagoda stone. Yeah, I would say we can start scaping with these rocks I got there. The only thing I did, kind of a modification, the large stone you see here, the part here is missing because I used a hammer, no chisel, just the hammer in my basement, and I smashed the stone because it was just too big. So I couldn't find the right medium-sized rock. We have a couple small stones and one medium-sized rock to be the main stone for this small aquarium. I made it fit, so you can as well. To get started, I'm gonna use about 1 liter of soil, substrate, and even it out a little bit so I have a nice little cushion in the aquarium for everything to sit on. And I think it might be even too little, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. But before I do that, let me go to my shelf and grab one of these. That's the APT Start. So what that little pouch does, it enhances every soil substrate by adding nutrients and beneficial bacteria to it. So there we have the content, and I'm gonna just sprinkle it in the back of the aquarium. The back mostly, because everything is going to be covered by a little bit of soil as well. And that little pouch is for later when the water comes in, because here we have some more beneficial bacteria, so I'm gonna keep that for later. Okay, now let me get another scoop of soil. Okay, so that is covered. One more scoop, ready for later. Okay, now starting with the hardscape, super simple, like I did the last time. Here I have the main stone, and I want the main stone to be most prominent in this layout. And for that, I think, yeah, this is a nice angle. So it kind of ends here approximately at a 2/3 line, if you want it, golden rule ratio. And yeah, now I'm just going to insert a couple supportive stones underneath. Here we have the first one. And what I do here, I can show you here, they're pointing in different directions. This way I'm creating depth in the layout. Also keeping a little bit of space in the back for myself for some background blending. A nice narrow foreground, you can see here very well. I'm very close to the front glass. Is going to give dimension to the layout. It looks immediately a lot bigger than it actually is. So, and because this is a little bit too flat at this moment, I'm going to insert another rock down here and lift everything up just a tiny little bit. And I'm going to tilt everything a little bit so it looks natural. Let me check briefly from the front. That looks lovely. So we have a beautiful slope with rocks. You've seen it, literally 2 minutes, done. Just alternating the direction, how they lay on. A little bit like what I called like dominoes, once they fall over. And I would like to have another rock in the back, sitting here, just to add more slope and making it more of a triangular layout. I think I did something similar in the UNS 5N, and let me check it from the front really quick. I like that. What I don't like, you can see maybe from the top down, both rocks pointing in the same direction. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna rotate this guy towards the back, check it from the front, and yes, instantly more depth. So literally every stone like a snake pointing in a different direction. To the back, to the front, to the back, to the front. That's it. The hardscape is done. Just look at it. That's been 4 stones, and well, because that's not a traditional Iwagumi, we don't have to go for an odd number. The overall composition is pleasing, and we can move on. Cool. I have one more stone I would like to use in the front. The reason for that is it's very, how to say, it's kind of vertical in this space. Obviously, I prepared the hardscape up front because I've been searching for the rocks in the store because I wanted to replicate the layout, so I knew I'm gonna need a handful of stones, and the composition comes together super natural. There is really very little that can go wrong with this composition. So, and this stone I would like to position here in the front, kind of like an experiment, as you can see here. So it basically creates a little valley here between the 2 stones. And yeah, I don't know, I think this might create that the substrate can go up in this corner a little bit, so it's gonna hold the soil from, prevent it from, you know, falling to the foreground and creating too much height in the substrate in the front, so it's gonna help keep the substrate in the back, but also just adds a little bit of detail to the otherwise a little bit empty foreground here. And I just would like this side of the aquarium to be a little bit heavier than this side, and it's going to accentuate this triangular composition where this side is super heavy and this side is a little bit more open. Clean foreground, clean background, everything narrow, and is the open space over here. Now I have a couple more small stones. I'm not sure whether I should use them or not. My idea was, because this stone has a really flat side, to just, I don't know, lay a couple of the stones somewhere here on top and give it a little bit of extra texture. And yeah, maybe even put a tiny little one on top here. I know that might look a little bit cheesy, but if you think of the nature somewhere in the Grand Canyon, you have this layered rocks, and the red pagoda stone replicates them beautifully. You have this stacked structures, and something like this can go in, can go out. It's optional. It's up to you. Just wanted to show you how you can enhance it with a little bit of detail. I'm still not sure whether I should add it in, so just have a look with those details and without those details. So have a quick voting in the comments below whether you want me to add these details or remove them. I can do that afterwards at any time. Once they're in, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to remove them, but still I would use just a little drop of super glue so it can even be removed at a later point. For the simplicity purpose and to keep this video as short as possible for you guys, I'm gonna leave them out for now, but I'm gonna look in your comments, and if you say, hey Jurijs, we wanna see those detailed stones in, that's what I'm gonna do in a follow-up video. By the way, if you want to see a follow-up video on this build, make sure to be subscribed to this channel, because there will be follow-up videos on every build in this nano series. Okay, now let's have a look from the back. I would like to raise the substrate in the back. For that, let's add more soil over there and give it just a gentle brush to make sure all the gaps are filled in. Let me check. Yeah, that's nice. Just this side, a little bit more. I don't have a powder type substrate. Usually I probably would use a powder type substrate as a top layer. Or you know what, guys? This is the exact same thing like with the UNS 5N. Over here, there is like a little gap in between the glass and the rock. So I'm going to insert a stone from the back to seal that up a little bit so that the soil is not coming down. This way I can add more soil in the back. You can see here. And we have a very prominent slope over here, going 2/3 of the aquarium height. So that is a little bit aggressive, I would say. Very dynamic, not aggressive. This is dynamic, very dynamic. Nice, I like it. Haven't done one of these in a while. With a triple camera setup, really enjoying it. And we have 30 minutes on the clock. It's cool. So the back is done, the stones are sitting. Do I need to secure the stone? This is the question. So let's give them a little wiggle. Yeah, that stone wiggles a lot. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna secure this stone here in the back, just a tiny little connection with super glue. It's going to be transported at some point, and for that reason it is always better to have the hardscape secured a little bit, because look at this, it's stacked up pretty much quite a lot. So yeah, hopefully you can see it here in the back. Added a little piece of a cotton pad, you know, it's those tiny cotton pads you use to, or your significant other eventually is using to remove makeup. That's what they're made for, and I'm using them to glue the hardscape, but you can use kitchen towels, toilet paper, whatever you want. So that piece is connected, and while I'm at it, I'm gonna give it another connection just to make sure things stay in place when I move them around. Over here, I added another. So give it like a few seconds, and the stone here on the top, I probably should secure it because it just sits. Yeah, let me show you from this side. Over here in the back, I'm going to insert a little piece down there. Just one tiny connection point, and it should secure the rock in place. Yeah, and everything invisible from the front. Awesome. Oh, there I have a little gap where the soil will go to the foreground. It's discovered over here in the back, and it's coming down here in between the rocks. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go from the back with super glue and just soak the soil in the back to create a little, how to call it, yeah. It's going to seal this spot because the soil is now going to stick to each other, is not gonna move anywhere. So. And from the front, it's just important to fill in some soil, and then it's gonna be good. There's a tiny little cave. I like it. If you remember the previous layout, there was Steve the Gobby. Definitely not gonna introduce a guy like this in this aquarium, but maybe a different type. A bumblebee gobby, something like that. I think they look like small aliens. Pufferfish, dwarf pea pufferfish. I don't know, we're gonna wait until the end of the video, or guys, drop below which fish you think gonna fit this theme. Okay, the foreground, I think I can make use of a little bit more soil, because that's really very little soil in the front. I would say I recommend like 2 centimeters. The UNS logo, you know, the UNS logo should be covered by soil. Then you have enough to add the plants inside. Otherwise, it's gonna be, it's not impossible, but gonna be really difficult to get your plants in the substrate. I mean, you will get them in the substrate, but to make them stay in the substrate, that's gonna be difficult. Let me check. Yep, all good. Just this gap here in between the rocks. And in this area where there is the cave in the back, I'm going to move some soil towards the cave so that there is like a little slope of soil. Okay, I think now we have enough substrate in here. Okay, and the front stone looks a little bit lost. So let me pull it out a little bit, because once the ground covering plant is going to grow, it will disappear otherwise. Okay, quick check with the stones. Nothing wiggles. Super glue, job done. And let me check it from the front. Yeah, it's cool, I like it. So simple. Those simple scapes, I think, are oftentimes the best. So, let's get to the planting. I have some nice plants kindly provided by Tropica. For this build, we have the Helantium Tenellum Green, which I'm going to plant somewhere in the back. Not in this corner, I want it to stay a little bit more shallow. I mean, it's gonna make its way there anyway. So basically, Helantium Tenellum Green, somewhere in the back, it's gonna spread and then try to come to the front. And for the foreground, the Eleucharis Mini, now renamed Eleucharis Pusilla, but it's a super tiny dwarf hairgrass anyway. I have a hairgrass foreground, like in the other build. And what is really cool about those tissue culture cups from Tropica, liquid medium, love it. The best invention ever, you see here. So, just remove it from the cup, squeeze it out, the medium like a sponge, and you're ready to go. So, as for planting, using my large pin sets, I don't know, 30 centimeters, they have quite a lot of force. Really like these ones. So, what I do with Eleucharis Pusilla, the little trick, there is a core and a belt on the outside. Basically all the runners, you know, growing in the cup, and I like to separate the both, because this way it's much easier to create your portions. Once you have the belt, you know, you can just pinch off from the bottom where you have the root sections. This way you don't rip off individual leaves. You will rip off leaves, but less. Gonna cause less damage to the plant. So basically from the bottom you pinch off a little portion and then grab it with your tweezers and plant it. So starting here on the right side and going to work my way to the front glass. I'm making rather large portions because I have plenty of material here today, so I don't have to budget plants, which is super nice. But for you guys out there, you can create up to 100 portions out of a single tissue culture cup. And if you want to see how to do it, comment below. Something like, Jurijs, we want to see you creating 100 portions out of a single cup on video. 1 cup, 100 portions. If you want to see it, let me know in the comments below. And 100 portions, more than enough to plant a nano tank. So it could be a 1-pot Iwagumi, 1-pot Aquascape. I think my friend George Farmer did that. I used a single cup of Hemianthus cuba to plant an entire aquarium. It is possible. And I think I have something planned like this. So yeah, just encourage me a little bit in the comments to do it. And then it's gonna happen for sure. I have so many more of these nano aquariums coming in the next weeks and months, guys. Really make sure you're subscribed. I am hyped. I cannot wait to scape them all. And this one here, being the first one scaped and now already planted just within 20 minutes or so, is just amazing. I've been waiting for so long for this project to finally begin. And here we are. Okay, so the belt is all used up now with this core portion. It's basically the same thing. Kind of stretch it a little bit and then pinch off little portions. So, a quick moment of silence. I'm getting really in the zone. So I can feel the flow. So when I'm planting, I don't feel any time. I can spend hours separating plants, planting them into substrate. I think the biggest carpeting lawn I ever done was like 100 or 200 pots of Hemianthus cuba. Was a giant tank, just all plastered with Hemianthus cuba. By the way, it's no longer Hemianthus, it's Micranthemum. Okay, so the first pot is in with quite large portions. Like I told you, this could have been enough for the entire scape, but I'm not budgeting here today. So here we go, cup number 2, separating the belt from the core. It's so funny. Just waiting until somebody's going to pick up this naming. Let me actually rotate the camera for you so you can see what I'm doing. That's the beauty of this laser Susan rotating plate. Let's continue a little bit here more with the Eleucharis pusilla before we transition to the Helantium tenellum green. Yeah, you can check it from the back. This is where I'm going to transition definitely to the Helantium, and now here on the other side at the top I want some Eleucharis mini as well. I'm pretty sure this area is going to be dominated by Helantium sooner or later, but at least I want some Eleucharis mini to be mixed in between, because otherwise it would be a little bit difficult for the Eleucharis mini to get up here. Okay, so I have one more portion. Where should it go? You know what, guys? I see in the front here where this little cave is. I'm gonna plant just another portion over there. And that's it, 2 cups of the Eleucharis pusilla. Here we have the Helantium tenellum green. Again, liquid medium, loving it. It's so easy, you don't have to wash off the gel medium. So nice. And yeah, over here you don't have such a, how to call it, dense carpet. So let me rotate this for you so you can see it from the back where it goes in. Rather individual plantlets. So they go, I just grab 1 or 2 of them, pinch off from the rhizome, just like this. There we have some runners, they're just going to continue growing in the tank. It's a lovely plant. I have it in the UNS 60U aquarium and love it. It can go quite tall if you don't trim it. If you trim it, you get the bonsai effect and it grows more compact with shorter leaves. Love the color, creates a lot of runners. So if you don't want the plant to propagate itself all over the aquarium, use something different, like Bluxa, for example. But I wanted to grow everywhere, to blend with the hair grass for a little bit of a wild look. The final portions of the Helantium Tenellum Green going here in the back of the aquarium. So, and we are done. Voila! Hardscape built and planted. Okay, now I have to give the plants a mist and explain to you how this is going to work, because this is going to be a dry start, like the original one. And now comes probably the most important advice in terms of dry starting an aquarium. As you have seen, I haven't used any water in the layout so far, so the soil is completely dry. I planted dry, I just like planting into dry soil. And now I'm spraying the soil. I'm not filling up water, and I'm definitely not filling up the aquarium by spraying. All I want the soil to get moist. And can you see it in the front? You briefly see it in the front. It's gonna look very nicely in the back here. Let me make sure the camera is in focus for that one. Because the biggest mistake I see, people over watering their dry starts. So I'm first giving everything a quick spray, all the substrate, the plants and the hardscape. And then I'm going to spray a little bit longer on the soil so it gets evenly wet, but not too much. But you see, I'm spraying and the water runs down and starts building up at the bottom. I would say this could be even already enough for this spot, because I don't want the water level to go up. The moisture is going to distribute evenly over time, literally like the next day. All the soil is going to be evenly wet. So just give it a good soak from the top until you see those runners, you know, going down towards the bottom. And in the first days, you're going to spray a little bit more often, just to make sure there is enough humidity, opening, ventilating it. But you really don't need too much humidity here or too much water. Okay, that's almost empty. Voila. Now let's clean the glass to give you a final look of what we have accomplished today. This is the final result. We have the hardscape built with the red pagoda stone, soil substrate in, APT start in, planted with Eleocharis pusilla, former Eleocharis mini, some Helantium Tenellum green in the back, gonna mix beautifully. The look I'm trying to achieve, bushy and wild in the back, the Helantium growing slowly to the front, gonna keep the Eleocharis shallow in the front. So we have the substrate wet enough. As you can see, I still have some air pockets. If you look from the side over here, you can still see some air pockets over there, but it's wet enough at the top. Some water went down and the moisture is going to distribute evenly. And the only thing remaining now is to seal it with a cling film. And done. So, this is sealed with a cling film. What is happening next? This aquarium is going on the shelf into the gallery, and I'm pointing there because the gallery is over there. It's gonna sit on the shelf. I'm going to turn on the light on 100% intensity and keep it for 12 hours per day. On for 12 hours per day. This is how you do a dry start. A lot of light, as strong as you can. Of course, don't put like 200 watt metal halide up here. It's going to burn the cling film. But if you have, for example, a small ONF light, a small twin star light, a small Jurijs, whatever, you know, this size LED of the aquarium that's going to sit on the rim here or mounted to the back, something like that. 100% power, full intensity, 12 hours per day. And the first few days I'm going to open every day and give it just a very short misting. This short misting is going to look like this. So I open it, let's assume that's day 2. This is the bottle. That's it. That's it. Just make it a little bit wet, moist. Don't fill in another 200 milliliters of water. Just spray in a little bit. That spray is going to create some airflow.
We talked about doing things blindfolded in the beginning.
You serious?
So guess what's coming?
Tool set here for you. I think you're gonna need it soon.
Okay. So what is up, guys? I have a special guest here with me, Mr. MJ.
Thanks for having me, man.
Both of us are going to scape with a little twist, with a couple twists.
What do you have in store for me, man?
Limited time.
Yeah.
They're gonna be limited budget.
Okay.
And they're gonna be unexpected challenges. Guys, we have limited time, like I said. We are going shopping. Let's go, let's go.
Come on, man, time's running.
Time's running, yeah. So on one hand, I have the advantage. I've seen what you have done. I want, of course, to do something different. I have to make sure the color is matching. At least a little bit.
Fresnap is sponsoring this video series.
They don't know. They don't know yet. We're going to propose them at the cash desk.
Potted or in vitro?
Need an overview first. Yeah, for 5 pots. I think that's it.
Plant selection done?
Yeah, plant selection done.
Okay. Let's go back. Okay, we are back from our little shopping trip.
It was fun.
It was fun, it was fun. And now it's time for you to show us your skills, because you're in your comfortable environment. You've been doing this many times already. I've seen the videos. So for you, this should be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm gonna make your life a little bit difficult.
Yeah, you could.
Okay, but let's first talk about what we got.
Yeah, okay. So first things first, I selected the hardscape and I went for the mini landscape rock over here. And I'm going to create a triangular composition.
Iwagumi?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but kind of modern Iwagumi.
Okay.
Basically, there is this strata from UNS. I used it years ago, before it was even available in Europe.
The fake hardscape.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that one.
Really love the strata, and just gonna replicate it with real stone. So I have a lot of kind of flat-ish mini landscape stones over here. So they're gonna be stacked, and I think this is a very simple, easy way for you guys to replicate it at home.
What about plants?
Plants. So I have 2 cups of hairgrass for the carpet, and then we have the Rotala rotundifolia atra, a reddish stem plant. So, you know, gonna have those behind the rocks. That's why it is a modern Iwagumi with stem plants behind.
Okay, seems like you know exactly what you're doing, so I'm gonna start watching you and I'll say have fun.
Okay, this kind of sounds too easy. I came up with the idea to have challenges included. I have no idea what kind of challenges MJ is going to throw at me. It's gonna be fun. Let's see. The way I like to start is to add just a tiny little bit of soil in the back of the aquarium, guys. And then on top, I'm gonna add APT Start. Absolutely loving this new product from the 2-Hour Aquarist brand. What that is basically a soil booster, you know, all-in-one product that is going to take your soil to the next level.
I have your tool set here for you. I think you're gonna need it soon.
Okay. I think that might be enough. Can I have the brush, please?
Are you looking for this, mate?
Yes.
You looking for your soil brush?
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Not allowed to use?
Not allowed to use it.
Oh, that's mean.
Figure out something else.
Yeah, I can help myself. No problem. I'm gonna use the APT Star Pocket.
haven't seen this coming. I get nervous when you come behind here.
Oh, you have a toothbrush here.
I can use the toothbrush?
Yeah, I'll allow you to use
I'm allowed to use the
course.
toothbrush. Okay, well, okay, I can brush off. Yeah, that's really helpful. Okay, so good. The first rock is in. Now comes the second largest rock, and look how cool those veins are, you know, with those layers. So what I'm gonna try now is just, you know, put it here and, you know, build up height so it kind of stacks up a little bit. Does this look cool? Mark, if I ask you if that looks cool, is it cheating?
I can give you my unpopular opinion. It looks similar to indeed, like you said, similar to the previous things or the other things you've done before. But it's a cool setup, you know, I like it.
Yeah, it's different. And it's on your channel.
Also.
So maybe you guys haven't seen this technique yet. So I would like to explain it to you in detail then. So the first rock kind of, you know, I kind of go in the direction more or less of it. It's kind of bulky. So this one points more to the front. So the next rock is going to point more towards the back. This way we have those, you know, you can see from the side view, alternating directions. This is creating depth. I'm also, you can see here from the side, I'm keeping some space in the back because I need the space for the planting. Basically, first third is the foreground, the middle third is the hardscape, and the rear third is for the background plants.
I actually like it a lot, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean,
Approved by MJ?
thinking about the stem plants that you're going to use, yeah, it works.
There you have it. Approved. We can move on. Again, missing my brush.
Sorry, mate.
I want the rocks to stay in place and not shift when things happen. You know, maybe this tank is going to travel somewhere at some point, so I have to glue it. Mark, can I have cotton pad and liquid glue, please? Or do you have any?
You can have your liquid glue, but you cannot have your cotton pads. So you have to figure out something else.
No problem. I have my little precision nozzles here to get in those little cracks. Mark, stay away. I need my precision nozzles. Already using it. It's too late to take it away.
What is this?
This is a little precision nozzle, so the glue has to go through it, and then you can, you know, get better where you have to.
Okay, I'll allow it.
So nice of you. Yeah, that's enough. I don't need more gluing. So we can move on to the final step of the hardscape, which is going to be the powder soil, and it goes in before Mark says anything. He's been really mean to me. Maybe this is the revenge for what I did to him.
There's a little gap here
Standing.
in between the rock and the wood. So I think this is the largest portion. Hardscape is done?
Yes.
Okay. It looks good. It's not too bad. I've seen you do better, but no, it looks really good, man.
If I had my brush, guys, I would have done a better job, honestly.
Shall I get the plants for you?
You can,
Okay.
if you don't lose any on the way. I see this coming. You know, you've seen the plants I selected previously. If something is missing, we're gonna know.
No, I didn't remove any of your plants.
Okay, so far so good.
So far, so good. All yours. You can have the bowl of water, and you can also have a little portion of Christmas moss.
And what am I supposed to do with it?
I want to see a little bit of moss in this, on top of the serious stone. It doesn't have to be much, but just a little bit of Christmas moss.
Okay, I can make it.
Cool.
Like now, every time I need something, I'm like, am I gonna get it? Actually, when I'm planting along the glass, guys, pay attention, my plants are not touching the glass. I feel like it looks very unpleasant if you, let me show you, if you do something like this. You know, literally with the roots, with the whole thing against the glass. Sometimes in the back, you know, and on the side it's not possible, but in the front it's like the worst thing you can do. Guys, I'm basically planting my way from front to back. If you have a fully planted tank, that is the best thing you can do. This way, the plants in the front, they are kind of securing the slope so the substrate is not coming down. Trying to do cool moves. Oh no.
Mate, I really enjoy your cool moves, but
You can have it.
we need to get a bit of a move on. So I want to see this tank finished within the next 10 minutes, yeah? So speed it up a little bit.
Okay. Oh shit. I just looked at the clock.
Exactly.
This is a real challenge. Okay, let's go. Oh, at least I can keep my tools. Okay guys, so the HRA is in. The final challenge is the moss.
Need glue?
I need glue. Okay, where can I add some moss in here that is not going to ruin the scape? I'm gonna grab a little bit of moss and I'm gonna glue the bottom of the moss. So to make it look natural, we have to have more than just one patch of moss. So I'm thinking maybe in there, in the gap between the rocks, to add some more. Over there, and let's have a final spot, maybe somewhere here. Okay, the moss is in. Let me see what it looks like. Yeah, I'm not proud of myself, but I've been forced. So,
All finished?
yeah, finished. Just polished up, cleaned the glass, everything. So what do you say?
Let's show it to the people. Turn around. I think we should let the audience give us some suggestions.
I was just about to say,
add-ons.
I'm not sure which fish to add.
It's not a very big thing, so definitely some small fish, but if you guys have any cool suggestions, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and shrimp species as well.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, also make sure you watch the other video that we did, where I escaped the tank on
Exactly.
Jurijs' channel, because
I was very mean to MJ. Maybe that was the revenge from before.
I say let's move the tank to the gallery, man.
Let's do it.
Cool.
We are going to scape it with a Ryuboku style, and Ryuboku is Japanese and means driftwood. So for this build I have again a UNF 3N aquarium, and yeah, what should I say? Maybe this is going to be my new favorite aquarium size. The same mid-out corners, very thin and minimal silicone work. If you look from like 45-degree angle, almost invisible, comes with a rubber mat, low iron glass, super nicely polished, very little silicone, just love these tanks. For this scape I did the exact same thing like for the previous one. I went to a garden center and I just picked up some regular hardscape, you know, nothing super crazy fancy, very small little assortment. And here again I had to break up the lava stone in smaller pieces because the selection was just same size. And something not so nice about buying hardscape in a garden center is it always comes with stickers and labels attached to it or stapled on it, so I had to remove those first. Anyhow, I managed to get a nice selection of lava stone, very nice, black color, that's good, and this type of driftwood. Looks gnarly, very old, lots of cracks, and a lot of texture. Oh, by the way, over here I've got also some nice plants provided by Tropica. Thanks for that. Soil substrate and some cosmetic sand. Beautiful bright sand over here. So which way am I gonna start? Substrate in, no substrate in, gonna start with hardscape first. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm gonna do. Start with hardscape first, and I will definitely have to secure that, you know, with a couple gluing points. So let's get started. So my idea is to have a triangular composition, and I will start with the biggest stone here on the left side. And yeah, positioning it from the top, you can see in the middle, more towards the front, so I have a very narrow foreground. You can see here I'm getting quite close to the front. This way I have a lot of space in the back for the background planting, because the front I want cosmetic sand. Now let's continue the outline with more rocks. I have no idea what that looks like, just literally making like a little chain out of stones here in the back. On the side I'm trying to find a flat side of the rock to press it against the glass so that the soil is not coming to the front. And other than that, you can see it from the top. It is a very basic composition, literally, yeah, like a little half circle, I don't know, something like that. I'm gonna add one additional stone to the front to give it just a little bit more texture, a little bit more depth here, and the front also to secure the gap. And basically at this point I can try positioning the wood inside already, but I'm just wondering whether I should already glue the stones in place, because once the wood is in here it will be very difficult to get inside. But to show you an idea what it is going to look like, I'm going to position the wood inside. The wood is going to sit behind the rocks. This is the main piece. It is quite large and everything is wobbling a lot. And this piece, which side is nicer? Yeah, this one has more texture to it. This is going to be glued together just like this. So it looks bigger and it should be as well tilted to the front so that we get a little bit of shadow underneath the wood. That's going to create depth. Also, while it leans to the front, creates shadow here and depth as it takes the eye from the front, driving it deeper into the aquarium and leaving free space in the back, so that the background plants have more space over there. Okay, it holds just magically. Thank you. We'll definitely secure that with super glue. And the third piece of wood is going somewhere here on that side. Everything tilted in that direction. Let me rotate it really quickly to check from the front. What does that look like? Yeah, not too bad. For a quick position, I think that's fine. More or less, I can fine tune it afterwards. And there is one piece of rock missing. I would like to put it somewhere on top here. The reason why I'm adding this stone over here as well is to give it a gradual rise of the hardscape, starting very low here on the left side with the rocks and then going up to the wood pointing out of the water, the triangular composition. Otherwise we have like a hardscape dip in between, you know. So to avoid that, just placing the stone here, I think it serves the purpose. So this is the basic composition. Imagine the foreground is going to be cosmetic sand, and I have some small pieces of lava stone that are left over from smashing the big stones, just to decorate the foreground. Okay, so this is the composition. Now I have to secure it. The way I got here was very simple. You have just seen it. A basic circle of stones and just placing the wood behind, all pointing in the same direction, mimicking water flow. And we have a plant here. The Cyperus halfari is going to mimic the flow as well. And by placing the outflow of the filter strategically, either over here in the back, is going to have all the leaves going in the same direction, or in the front here, will be a little bit more gentle. It's going to rotate and bring the leaves again along the backside in the same direction like the wood. The only downside, having the outflow positioned here in the front, it could move too much sand in that front corner because it goes down as well. We are going to find out. We can experiment with the filter position afterwards. So now I have to secure the stones, and to maybe give them a little bit more stability, I could literally just pour in a little bit of soil and a little bit of sand so they don't move too much. How about that? Just gonna do that. I feel like this is the way to go. And already with the cosmetic sand inside, we get a beautiful contrast between the black lava and the light colored sand. If I add the soil first to give the stability to the rocks, let me turn it around so you see it from the back. If I put the soil in first, then I will not be able to kind of seal the cracks. I have some filter wool over here. I really wanted to use a little bit of filter wool from the back to seal the gaps. So, you know, the shrimps, they're gonna dig around, but I'm not too concerned. In a small tank like this, not gonna have a amount of shrimps, good cleaners, don't get me wrong, but they are digging soil so much. And with the dwarf shrimps, so I'm only gonna have a dwarf shrimps in here, they're not too bad when it comes to digging. So just from the back, I'm going to squeeze in a little bit of filter wool in those gaps in between the stones to seal them up, at least at the bottom. At the higher locations, I'm gonna have plants sealing those gaps, so I'm not concerned about them. Okay, so the gaps at the bottom are sealed. To keep the stones more in place, I'm gonna pour in a little bit of aqua soil in the back. So this should prevent the stones from sliding around. And now I'm going to secure them with the tiny little pieces of cotton pad. Cotton pad is something like this. That is what some people use to remove cosmetics from the face. To glue the hardscape, I'm inserting this in the back just between the stones to give it some security. All I want is just that the rocks are connected and don't wiggle around too much once the driftwood goes in. And then I'm going to secure the wood to the stones. I really have to, because the wood is not pre-soaked. So if you are about to replicate this layout, I would highly encourage you to pre-soak your wood and to check out my dark start video, because this is going to make your life a lot easier. So if you want to check it out from the front, none of the pads is visible. Maybe the one in the front could get visible. For that, guys, I have found on Amazon black super glue. That is super cool because, yeah, same stuff, just black color. If you shop super glue online, pay attention, it is cyanoacrylate based super glue, and I like the liquid type because it soaks into those cotton pads, paper pieces, whatever, really fast and creates a very strong connection within seconds. I can smell the chemical reaction inside, so be aware, don't breathe in the smoke that comes out of the chemical reaction. Another trick to hide those gluing spots is to crush a little bit of soil. Just take a pinch of soil with your fingers, crush it, and then sprinkle the dust on the spot where you have glued. And to prevent the soil dust from going anywhere, just add a little bit of glue on top. I put the driftwood inside, and yeah, this is what it looks like. And of course, the driftwood is not pre-soaked, so you have to secure it in place. To do so, always use multiple connection points. I started here on this side with a small piece, and I first secured it in 2 locations. To do so, again, using those cotton pads and super glue. Now the hardscape is almost finished. I will add some details, you know, the small lava stones in the foreground, but that I will save for the last. Now let's address the background and the substrate. I have the foundation, a thin layer of soil. Now I want to add something I like adding to the substrate in most of my recent scapes. It's from APT, 2-hour Aquarius brand, and it's called APT Start. So let's open the pouch and have a look inside. So here we have two things, a little mix and a little pouch. In this pouch we have bacteria for the water when this comes in. Let's put this aside. And then here in the back we have a mixture of minerals and nutrient additives to the substrate, and this is going to enhance every soil substrate, whatever the brand is. So just adding this to the bag. Also there is beneficial bacteria already in the substrate as well. So we have the substrate already colonized. Okay, now it's empty, but I'm gonna keep it with a little pouch inside so I'm not losing it. Nutrients, bacteria, minerals, it does a lot of things. It stabilizes the pH in the substrate, which can otherwise get acidic. Like I said, adds more nutrients to it, and also adds beneficial bacteria that kind of kickstarts the process in the substrate. So we have a nice little layer of APT Start, and now let's cover it up with more soil and actually build some height. You know, look here, the stone going to foreground, so we can fill up to that line. If you see me reaching under the table, I have another bag of soil down there. So, and then this corner. Okay, before I add too much soil, let me actually level out the already existing soil with the brush, because I definitely don't want the soil to then fall over to the foreground. Since the soil is going to be invisible anyway, I'm not creating any huge slope, maybe just a tiny little bit behind the wood, but more or less it's more of a even layer over here. And as you can see from the side, I'm keeping the rocks just a little bit higher. This way, whatever happens in the back, the fish, the shrimp, the snail, the plants, this is like a little barrier that the soil is not coming to the front. But if the soil does come to the front, there is a trick how you can remove it. If you want to know the trick how to remove soil from the cosmetic sand the most efficient way, drop a comment below and I will make a pro tip video. Anyway, so many people commented previously they want the pro tips to come back, so let me know and I will make it happen. The substrate is in place, the cosmetic sand is in there, and basically now we are ready for planting. Now, before I add plants, I think I want to finalize the foreground. I'm going to use just a few stones very strategically to extend a couple lines in the layout. As you can see here, from the top, I'm extending this stone, and trying to extend this one, creating a little bit of like a pocket here behind. That kind of looks funny from the top, all the little stones pointing in the same direction, but if I check it from the front, it kind of makes sense, more or less. This one is a little bit too long. Let me add here a smaller one. So guys, the hardscape is done, and what should I say? I really like it. It turned out just beautiful with, you know, just a few details in this cosmetic sand. Now we can proceed to planting. So as for planting, like I said, maybe a couple tiny plants in the foreground in the sand. Bucephalandra need leaf in between the stones and the driftwood, and just underneath the driftwood gonna go the Bulbitis Hydolotti, and Cyperus helferi is gonna sit in the back. So Cyperus definitely goes in the last because the biggest is gonna fall over, cover everything up. And on that side, I'm gonna use Helantium tenellum green. I have 1 cup of it over here. I would say one plant that is gonna be hidden mostly, I'm gonna do first, and this is the Bulbitis Hydolotti. So let me just move the tank aside for a second. Here's the bulbitis. Let's take it out. It came in as a aqua decor, which means it is a mature plant and it is growing on a piece of wood. And it's definitely too big for the layout. So what am I gonna do? I'm going to cut off all the leaves. All of these leaves I'm going to trim off because the plant is going to replace them anyway over the following months. If the tank is big and you don't mind, removing them afterwards, you can plant your bulbitis or all of your ferns with leaves. But since it's a tiny plant, I also want the bonsai effect I'm going to achieve by cutting off the plants. I think I even have like a pro tip about this somewhere on the channel. So what I'm doing, I'm just going in here and cutting off all the leaves along the rhizome. This takes a lot of time, so let's apply some magic. So there we are, a clean piece. There we have it, in one piece. So now I'm gonna give this a little wash in a container with water, just to get rid of as much dirt as possible, and especially the loose pieces of rock wool are hopefully going to detach. Here comes the tank back. So with the bulbitis, where do I want it to go? I think this is one spot underneath the wood. Yeah, that describes it the best, underneath the wood. So here and here, this is where I want it to be. So we need two portions, a small and a larger one. And I think this one can be simply tucked down here in this crack. No glue needed, it sits there so tight. So let's take this patch and bring it down here. Bulbitis is in, nice. Next I'm going to add in the bucephalandras. Over here we have the bucephalandra species needle leaf, a beautiful small bucephalandra. So we have two options with this plant. We can glue it with gel type super glue, or we can just squeeze it into gaps if possible. For the gel type super glue, I'm using the Arca Microbe Lift Planscaper super glue, gel type cyanoacrylate, tested 1,000 times with plants, and it comes in this gigantic 50-gram bottles, so it's great value for your money. Let me check how the plant is going to sit this way. So these roots on the side, I'm going to apply a little bit of glue on the roots from the side, close to the rhizome, not too much, and squeeze it into the spot. And those roots should create a connection thanks to the super glue to the stone and keep the plant in place. All the booths are inside. I would say let's proceed with the Helantium Talon Green. If you look at from the back, I'm gonna use, yeah, 1/2 with this, a little bit over there. Yeah, it might not be necessary. It's gonna grow there anyway with the runners. I feel as if when you combine two plants and they're sitting very close to each other, they know, oh, there is a neighbor. So let's create more runners and spread out quickly before the other one does. While as if you have each one individually, they're like, oh, I have so much space around me, I'm not touching anyone immediately. So yeah, let's grow taller. So this is also one way to control the way your plants are growing. Okay, so we have enough of the Helantium in the back. You know what? Let's go for the initial plan. Let's go for the initial plan and have the nicely planted foreground. So here I have the Eliocharis, here I have the Marsilea, and take a tiny little portion of it. Now I'm gonna use my small pincets because they are most delicate. Okay, and now let's grab a little bit of the Eliocharis. So for this type of delicate planting, only the inner part can be used. The inner part. Those runners on the outside, they're just too big and bulky to stay in the sand. So I'm just going to rip it apart separate the core and the belt. That core part is what I'm looking for, the mature plants, and those runners on the outside, they're good for a thick layer of soil, but for the delicate sand planting, you have to use those pieces from the middle. They have less runners, they're more like little bushes, mature little portions of hair grass. So literally every of these little pockets is getting a little bit of Eleucharis and a little bit of Marsilea, and then we're going to observe how these plants are going to spread into the sand, if they're going to do that at all. So now the only remaining plant is the Cyprus helferi. Oops. My working desk is a complete mess. Give it a quick rinse in the water, and there we have it. If we put it like one bush, then it's gonna look like one bush. So I recommend to separate it a little bit and then plant very densely, because this one is not going to spread out. Okay, so it's quite dense, and the idea is that with the flow, all the leaves will go in this direction, and they should kind of curl on the water surface. I hope it looks like something from the front, because now I'm going to mist everything and give the plants a little bit of water. Okay, now let's clean the glass and have a look at the finished result. I'm going to do the big reveal, clean the glass the way you don't see it. So the aquarium is now planted, and I'm going to bring it to its position in the gallery and very, very slowly fill up with water. Hey, and what is up guys, and welcome to today's video. Today I'm gonna show you how I built this super cool nano diorama aquarium. I'm gonna show you step by step exactly how I did it, every technique I used, especially the way I added the plants, because they're not inserted, planted into the soil, they're rather sprinkled on top. I call it the lazy dry start. Gonna be explained in the video, and now without any further ado, let's get started. So for today's build, we are using a UNS 20C aquarium, which is a 20 by 20 by 20 centimeter cube. It's a lovely size, and we're going to create a small diorama. For this, I have two types of soil, regular type and powder. Then I'm gonna use the Vio Jade stone, which is a greenish stone. It is inert, so not gonna affect the water parameters, which is super nice. First time using the stone, so let's see how that goes. I have the green accent from Vio, so thanks for Vio for providing all these products. UNS, main sponsor of this video. And yeah, I would say without any further ado, let's get started. For this, I'm gonna use, I don't know how much that is, 1 liter or 2 liters of regular size soil. So this gives us already a nice foundation. You can see here from the side, it's quite low in the front and goes up all the way to the back. Using my paintbrush here, one of my favorite tools. By the way, for the tools, we have tweezers and a scissor here, and haven't mentioned in the beginning, we have some carpeting plants, mainly the Micranthemum tweedii, former Monte Carlo. which is going to be the main carpet. I'm going to do the lazy dry start method, which is super easy. Literally everyone can replicate it to achieve a beautiful carpet with this plant. And then I have some Eliocharis pusillamini for, you know, some details here and there. Now let's open the bag with the Vio jade stone and have a look inside. First thing I would like to point out, I wasn't quite sure about those bags in the beginning, but the opportunity to, you know, just open them, look inside, and then reseal them is just genius. Let's take the rocks out, put them on the table so I can see what I'm working with. And yeah, that's it. We have some tiny little pieces. We can save them for decorating the sand path. I'm gonna just put them here to the green accent cup. Okay, let's put the bag aside and have a look at the stones. So basically for me, the first time seeing this rock in person, it's cool. A lot of texture. The green color is definitely unique. I think it's gonna give a nice contrast, and I think it should instantly look aged, you know, this green patina on the stones. I would say this bag for the small size, it's 10 out of 10. So you have a really big one, you have some small stones, so it's a good selection. So good job, Vio. Now let's get to this scape. How is it gonna work to build a diorama in here, which is super easy and everyone can replicate the same process. I've done that before. Here I am doing it again to show you it is so easy to replicate. I'm gonna start, you know, with the larger stones in the front. So yeah, let's maybe use the biggest one. Let's look for its nicest side. Now, this one looks great. So basically what I want is, you know, a lot of diagonal lines in the middle, sort of overlapping a little bit. But you see, sometimes even I need a little time to figure out which way to position the stone inside the aquarium. Never mind, let's try it this way, and you're here with me. I'm figuring it out in the moment as I'm doing it. So number one is in. Let's look for a second one. This one looks great. Gonna put it slightly behind, so we have already this structure where they, you know, one after another. It is gonna help build the sand path in the middle. Okay, working my way from the front to the back, but now I want something here in the front and something tiny over there. So for that, I think a small flat stone with nice outline. This one has a little bit of a white color on it, so I'm gonna use this one purposely in the back as it kind of mimics snow at the top of the mountains. So let's maybe use this one in the front corner here to give it a little bit more depth for now. Not sure if it's gonna stay here like this. I will be able to fill up the gap over there with a powder type soil from the back. Now something for here, what would be an appropriate size rock? Yeah, let's take this one. Let me check from the front. Yeah, a little bit flat. It's good that I checked. Always check from the front, but this is the way you would usually build an aquarium. I just try my best to do it from the back for you guys so you can see what is happening inside. So we have those 3 stones in. This one doesn't count. This is just, you know, for balancing things out. And yeah, now here in the back, just another one. This one has an interesting structure. Which way am I gonna use it? Like this, maybe? I'm gonna use the flat side here against the wall, as this will allow me to build up height behind it. And if I check from the front, beautifully leads up to the back. Okay, cool. Now another one to the other side. I mentioned using this one with the white tip, but I think I will have to fill up some soil first. Now let's add in the powder type soil and build some height in the back. So from time to time it's necessary for me to check from the front if all the rocks are pointing in the right direction. And yeah, it looks good. I think, yeah, let me check one more time. This is the sand pad. I need something small in the back there, but maybe I have here this flat stone, so maybe I can incorporate this one properly. Just going to put it like this to the back. The rest we're going to fix with sand and plants, you know, to narrow down the path in the middle. Okay, to the front, more details. We have the green details here to sprinkle around. I think the foreground we can keep as it is. So let's just cover up everything with powder soil. And from the back you can see I'm filling up as well, going really tall, and this slope is really steep. Because we're doing a dry start, I'm not afraid to have soil this steep, because the plants will be able to root before water comes in. Otherwise it would be a little bit tricky. Okay, so this is the basic structure that we have here. Now comes the sand, and on top of the sand will go the green details. Or we can do it the other way around. We can add some of the green details first, you know, and then sprinkle the fine sand on top. Let's go with the sand first. The reason why I like to go with the sand first, because the way the sand falls down is going to show us how the water would flow down. And this, you know, we're mimicking the water with the sand path. So starting here in the back, and you can already see how it kind of falls down and curves. Okay, so this is the sand path. I think it works. Let me check. Yeah. We have some nice curves here, and now we can go for the green details and just add them left and right where we have to create like a tiny little natural border for the cosmetic sand. So with some of these details covering the sand, it even starts to look more natural. So the hardscape is in place. What we want to do now is plant it. And to do it super easy, first of all, to keep the soil in place, I'm going to spray it down. Usually I don't spray the soil wet. I like to plant into dry soil, but I'm not planting. You're gonna see what I'm gonna do. Just need my spray bottle. My gigantic spray bottle. And this is a really cool moment to see the jade stone wet in combination. Kind of moment of reveal if it's going to work out. You know what? We're gonna do the reveal. Turn it around. I'm gonna spray everything wet. Wipe the glass for you. Oh my god, that's beautiful. This is so beautiful. Love the color. I think it's beautiful. It already now looks kind of aged, you know, because the stone is like gray, blue, greenish, and it looks as if it already has a patina. And like I said, all the rocks were built like this, you know, one after another, overlapping a little bit, going slightly to that corner, kind of leading towards here. Everything is in parallel lines, so you can see from the top, you know. So all rocks are in parallel lines on left and right side, and yeah, added the details in every curve, the sand, moistured everything. That looks cool, I like it. So now to the planting part. Okay, I told you we're gonna use dry start method, and it's gonna be the lazy dry start method. So let me just briefly move the tank to the side so I can show you how it's gonna work. If I drop it it's game over, but I didn't. Okay, so let's have the container here. Here is the Tweedy Eye. There is some nutrient-rich gel at the bottom. I don't like that. So I'm taking my scissors, and of course I could wash it off, but I just need the tips anyway. Actually, you could use like trimmings from a carpet in one of your submerged aquariums for this method, or potted version, but yeah, I'm happy to work with tissue culture. Anyway, so what I'm doing here, as you can see, so we have the gel down here, and I'm just cutting off all the stems just above this nutrient-rich gel. So I have a lot of individual stems, very short. The bottom part I could use for planting, or I can skip it. So I have them in here. Let's give them a little shake. This tiny amount is going to be enough to plant this tiny aquarium, because we have the sand path. We don't have to cover the sand path, and we have a little bit of the hairgrass. So let's bring the tank back. So here we have it, the UNS 20C with this beautiful jade stone diorama composition inside. And now comes the lazy dry start. I'm just basically sprinkle it like, you know, some spice on your food, you know, like fresh herbs. Just sprinkle it all over the soil, and trust me, it is going to root on its own. You don't have to plant the Monte Carlo, just spread it evenly. Try not to have too many layers, like in a one thin layer, if that makes sense. This way the stems are going to root much quicker. And I'm going to show you the process, how they root in the follow-up video. By the way, if you want to see follow-up videos on all the builds on my channel, make sure you're subscribed. So let's put a tiny portion here. You know what? In the back, I'm gonna use hairgrass on purpose, because it has the smaller texture. So I'm just using my tweezers to distribute the cuttings evenly on the soil areas. But as you can see, I just put them on top. What I like about this method, I'm not disturbing the soil, so I have perfectly flat soil surfaces. While I'm doing it, let me basically explain to you how this method works. So I'm gonna start the aquarium as a dry start, which means maintain wet conditions, and the plant understands it has no substrate, it has been, you know, trimmed off, and because it wants to survive, it's gonna grow roots based from the stored nutrients inside the plant. And those roots are growing vertically perfectly down, because they know the light is up, so the soil is down. They have like a built-in compass. And once the roots are in the substrate, they're going to pull down the plant towards the substrate. And what looks kind of fluffy and, you know, loose as of right now, the roots are going to level out everything and make it perfectly flat. And what is important is not to damage those stems. So be very careful not to squeeze them, because if you press them, it's gonna cause damage, and this can increase the risk of melting, and you want to avoid that. Ideally, you're using a potted version of the Micranthemum Tweedy Eye for this technique. It is more robust, it has more nutrients stored compared to the tissue culture plant I'm using, but I've done that before and the tissue culture works as well. But just saying, potted version is a little bit easier in my opinion, as it has more nutrients stored. Now I can use the spray and adjust it to make it a little bit stronger, you know, so it is more pointy in the way it sprays. And by spraying on the plant, I'm pushing it towards the substrate a little bit. As always, with every dry start, don't fill up your aquarium by spraying. As you can see from the side, the top layer is wet, the bottom is dry. This is how you want it to start off. Over time, the moisture is going to distribute evenly, and then by especially this method, in the beginning, you have to spray daily, maybe even a few times. You have to monitor. You don't want the plants to dry out. They have to constantly stay moist, but don't overspray them. So just a tiny little bit. Okay, here we have the hairgrass, and let me go to the tray, get rid of the runners that we have on the outside. I want the bushy plants from the middle section. You know what, I'm gonna use much smaller tweezers for that. I have my nano tweezers in the tool bag. And I see the front glass is wet again. So let me clean that for you. Okay, so I would like to use just a small portion of the hairgrass here in the bag to mimic some kind of, you know, forest vegetation on the far horizon. So let's add some more behind the rocks there. Yeah, that's it. There in the back. I don't want too much of it in the back. We can use a little bit more in the foreground. You know, like I said, for just some variation and contrast. So really, this is it. Just a few portions in the front. And what I see here in the back, we lost some detail. Let me turn it around for you. Here in the rear corner, we lost some sand detail, as I want the sand to go all the way in the corner for that, you know, few that it goes to the back. Let's call it the final detailing. Okay, so I'm going to run the dry start. Dry start means cling film on top. Do I have my cling film here? No. Gonna get it in a second and wrap it with a cling film, and then I'm gonna bring it into the gallery. I've been asked in the previous videos like which light I would recommend for a small setup like this. Basically any small nano size light will work. Just for the demonstration purpose, I got one here, which I think is quite cool. Let me show you. Okay guys, my camera just overheated and I had to take a little break. While the camera was cooling down, I equipped the tank with a little light, which is the ONF Mist O LED, which is just perfect for this 20 centimeter cube. I'm going to keep mine in the gallery over here, but for you at home, I think this is maybe just the perfect light for this 20 centimeter cube. It is equipped now. I did a little bit of cleaning, added a few little stones, you know, like specifically with the tweezers here and there, kind of worked out the sand path a little bit more. Also, the sand path over here, I would call is work in progress. Like literally all the time. The plants are going to grow in, the stones are going to crumble down, and you will be constantly cleaning it, at least once the water is in. During the dry start, you don't really have to worry about. However, there's one portion I'm specifically worried about, and this is this really steep section up here at the hill. There is a trick how you can secure a sand portion like this, and this is liquid super glue. It has to be cyanoacrylate based super glue, and it has to be really liquid because only then it's going to be soaked up completely. Basically the same stuff you use for gluing rocks with a cotton pad. So, and if you take a closer look over here, I'm going to just cover this section, not the top section, but the vertical section with a little bit of glue, and this is hopefully going to keep the sand in place. Okay. I don't want to do too much stuff with the super glue because, yeah, maybe, you know, I will change my mind. But I find it really helpful to use this precision nozzle. By the way, liquid super glue and the precision nozzle, you will find links down in the description below. everything I use today, links in the description. If you don't use a precision nozzle, you're gonna end up using much more super glue, and you might end up having it on top of the stones, which gonna create a shiny effect, which I don't really like. So here we have it, the final result. It is planted, the sand is secured. I could hammer it with the tweezers, it shouldn't move anywhere, but we only gonna see really when the water is filled. Okay guys, now that you made it to the end of the video, I'm gonna show you how the plants already started rooting, because by the time I'm recording this outro, this aquarium has been running for 2 or 3 days, I'm not sure, in the dry start. So check out here on the side, we see the first roots already growing into the soil, and I guess just the next couple days, many more are going to follow.
This is the story of the red Cliff Iwagumi. In this video I will show you the entire process from start to finish, including my top 3 techniques used in this build, as well as all the mistakes I made along the way. Let's begin with the substrate system. I start by adding a 2-liter bag of Power Sand Advance in the back of the aquarium. This will ensure a good water circulation and a nutrient deposit. Next comes the APT Start. It is a powerful substrate booster for new aquariums. It will enrich the substrate in macro and trace elements, but also accelerate tank cycling and make it ready for planting and livestock introduction. Next, I cover everything with a good amount of aqua soil and make sure to perfectly level the substrate. With the substrate in place, it is time to add the hardscape. I decided to use the K-stone for its beautiful mixture of warm colors. The main stone, Oyaishi, goes in first and is supported by a smaller stone, Soyaishi. Next, the secondary stone, called Fukuishi, is positioned on the opposite side. It is the second largest stone and balances out the composition. For visual expression, I'm using additional smaller stones called Suteishi. These are the smallest rocks and they are likely to be swallowed by plants. Finally, one more stone is added in the bag to increase the sense of depth. The hardscape is completed by adding a thin layer of aquasol powder. A look from above shows the position of the hardscape in the middle third of the aquarium. This is when you would usually add your plants, but I decided to use a method that is going to give me an unfair advantage. To avoid algae and melting plants, I am using a method that is used by top aquascapers around the world. For this, the aquarium has to be filled with water. Make sure to cover the soil with kitchen towels. This will prevent water from disturbing the substrate. Fill in the water very slow to begin with and increase the speed once the water level rises. Once the aquarium is filled, start the filter. To prevent the powder type soil from being moved around, adjust or modify the flow accordingly. Now it's time to add some beneficial filter bacteria to the water column. In this build I use APT Start, and in addition I squeeze out a sponge from a mature filter. The final step is to switch off the light. And if you haven't guessed by now, the technique I'm using is called the dark start method. It is an easy way to pre-cycle your soil and filter, allowing you to skip the daily water changes and will give your plants stable water parameters from the start. Simply let the aquarium run with soil, substrate and hardscape, but without lights and CO2 for a minimum of 2 weeks. Fast forward, and one big water change later, it is now time to add the plants. Choosing the right plants can be overwhelming. For this reason, I created a list of plants from inspirational layouts, and after observing them, I was able to see some patterns. I highlighted the repetitive plants and created a new list just with them. The first plant I use is Riccia fluitans. This floating moss gained popularity thanks to Takashi Amano, who cultivated it attached to flat rocks. I recommend using small quantity of Riccia and a thin fishing line to keep it attached permanently. The remaining foreground is blended with Micranthemum cuba. To help dwarf plants anchor in substrate, I like to keep a small portion of the rock wool attached. For this, cut away all but 1 cm of the rock wool and divide it from the bottom. This way, you don't cut any runners and each portion covers a greater area. As you can see, I have covered the foreground as well as the middle path, all the way to the back of the aquarium. In the midground, I use Eleocharis pusilla and Helantium tanellum green. The combination of thin hair-like leaves of the dwarf hairgrass combined with the broader leaves of the pygmy chainsword will provide a wild and untamed look. In the background, I use Eleocharis parvula and Juncus repens as they will grow taller and create a steady transition towards the back. The aquarium is once again slowly filled, but this time with reverse osmosis water. For this, I'm using the Arca My Aqua 1900 and a floating valve from Amazon to prevent the water from overflowing. Once the aquarium is filled up, it is time to add back the minerals. APT Sky has been specifically developed for planted aquariums, and you can easily calculate the right amount with a handy calculator on the 2-hour Aquarist website. For the next 2 weeks, I stick to the following maintenance routine. 50% water change every 2 to 3 days, daily dosing of APT0 fertilizer from day 1, and a moderate light schedule of 7 hours per day at 50% intensity. Before we get to how this aquascape has turned out, let's check out the hardware I used in this build. The aquarium is lit by the Live Aqua Master Pro. This light has great color rendition and is fully customizable inside the Max Living app. The canvas of the build is a UNAS 60U aquarium measuring 60 by 36 by 36 centimeters. It offers highest clarity and true uninterrupted display thanks to 45-degree precision cut mitered edges, almost invisible silicone work and low iron glass. Plus, every UNAS aquarium comes with a matching premium rubber mat. Behind the aquarium I have used the Live Aqua backlight. A light screen is definitely an expensive and not necessary purchase, but it really makes the whole aquarium shine like a diamond. The UNAS 60U is standing on a black cabinet from European Aquaristics. This cabinet has a classic design and has adjustable feet as well as round holes on each side for filter and CO2 installation. To fully customize the cabinet, I attached a wall-mounted power socket and to see things in the dark, a motion sensor LED strip. To inject CO2, I'm using the Live Aqua single gauge regulator. It is by far the most beautiful CO2 regulator I have seen. The bubble counter has a non-return valve already built in, and the solenoid is also already attached. The aquarium is filtered by the Biomaster 350 Thermal. I love this filter for its quick access pre-filter and the build quality. Some of the original filter materials were swapped out for biological neomedia. In the top compartment I added filter floss to help remove small floating particles. The filter tubing is cut and an inline CO2 diffuser from Live Aqua is installed. The original filter in and outflow pipes are replaced by Aquario NeoFlow. What I really like about them are the customization options. And this wraps up the gear overview of this build. Now let's return to the red Cliff Iwagumi and check out how it has turned out. The system I have used to build this aquascape has worked like magic. It has enabled the best plant growth I have ever had. And it took me close to no effort to achieve it. So far, you have learned 2 out of 3 techniques that have enabled this. First, using reliable hardware and a solid substrate system. Second, pre-cycling the aquarium with the dark start method. The third technique is nothing you can buy with money. it is something that 100% depends on you. So, do you know what it could be? I'll get to it in a moment. For now, just look how the scape has evolved after only a few months. This aquascape is looking absolutely amazing. The plants are pearling like crazy and have exploded in growth. Thanks to my friend Juan Pujadas, I found the Hicramus rhodwi to fit perfectly into the layout. My initial goal was to achieve a wild mix of green carpeting plants, allowing the case stones to stand out. I also wanted the Eleocharis parvula and Juncus repens to grow taller in the rear corners. And while the plant choice of carpeting plants allowed me to achieve a perfect look, I struggled to match Juncus repens to fit with the rest of the layout. I ended up cutting it short in hope of Helandium tenellum filling in the gap, which never really happened, and while I was focused on fixing the background, I totally missed to properly maintain the carpet, allowing it to grow way too tall. After trimming Micranthemum cuba, I discovered it has already turned yellow and started melting from underneath. Now, this brings us to the last of the three techniques, mainly proper and regular maintenance. My lesson learned here is to never neglect trimming a carpet, as the next time can be already too late. I should have maintained a shallow and compact growth as it was in the beginning. In addition, I regret I haven't removed the Juncus early on when I first noticed it doesn't fit into the layout. This way I could have filled the gap with simply more of the existing plants, but instead I kept riding a dead horse, resulting in a patched carpet and algae outbreak due to the excessive organic wastes. On the positive side, the recently added Nymphea gardneriana has reproduced nicely and will be replanted into my other aquariums. Let me know in the comments below what I should do next inside the UNS 60U aquarium. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.